Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic That's Non-Classics. This is episode number 1783 and double shot number 1777. I got two DC trades and they're digital. First one is issues that came out back in the late 1970s. Yes, seriously. We have All Star Comics. Only legends live forever. The Justice Society returns. Yeah, great title like this thing. This book collects issues of All Star Comics, issues 58 to 74, along with Adventure Comics 441 to 461 to 466, and DC Special number, what was it? DC Special number 29. Now, there are two writers for these issues. You first start off with Jerry Conway, and then partway through this, he gets replaced by Paul Levitz. Here are your artists. By the way, there are four artists in these issues. Four. Yeah, Rick Estrada, Keith Giffen, Joe Stanton, and Wally Wood. Wally Wood, as in one of the co-creators of Daredevil. Yes. Now, why you probably think, okay, what is up with the numbering and why in the world did the series start in the 70s? No, it didn't. This series actually started back in the early 1940s. That was abruptly concluded in the 1950s after issue 57. This is simply put their brief revival. And Conway was the original writer of the book partway through these issues. Until they were replaced by Paul Levitz. In the very first issue of the book, we have debut of this team known as the Super Squad. First, we have this prologue of basically establishing the whole alternate Earth thing, which is really cool, the fact that it is. And the fact this whole book is set on Earth 2. Now we have debut of the Super Squad, which is simply new people who join the Justice Society of America. Now, in this very issue, this is also Comics number 58. This is the debut of Power Girl. Yes. We also have the Star Spangled Kid, who later named Skyman Infinity Inc., and Robin. Yeah, they joined the JSA with these very issues. So, you could say this is like right after like one of their adventures when they guest star. Now, you're probably thinking, what does Power Girl look like in her debut appearance? We also have Brainwave. This, of course, is the original Brainwave Henry King, the father of the second one became a superhero. And by the way, Earth 2 Robin dressed like this. Yeah, he says he's a former boy. He's the ex-boy wonder. Yeah, the thing with Dick Grayson is in the book, based on the fact the guy's got gray hair, he presumably is in his 40s or 50s, and he's one of the young recruits for the JSA for reasons. Yep, and here you go. Here's the debut of one of the most popular characters for DC Comics, and who has one of the most male favorite costumes. Power Girl! Yep, Power Girl. AKA Cora L. That's seriously her real name. This actually was original attire. About partway through this comic, for some strange reason, they decided to close the boob window. That's what this thing is called. That is what I heard referred to as for years. It's referred to as that. The costume-wise didn't really change very much, aside from the brief removal of the boob window. It was the same outfit she had up until the Flashpoint reboot, where they changed her outfit to this all like spandex suit. Shows off no skin at all, though occasionally has revealing stuff. It's not until she pops up in Supergirl she gets basically a redesign of her classic costume with the Jim Lee unnecessary lines. And she has his outfit up until very recently. Though she also has popped up in Harley Quinn for some strange reason. Though that one, like this one, was basically from Earth 2. This Earth 2 was complete. There's technically, in a way, 3 alternate Power Girls Earth 2. This is the original one. The second one made her debut in Justice Society of America number 2. As part of the second Earth 2, which basically is a rebooted version of Earth 2. Prior to Flash reboot, and you have the new version who's appearing nowadays. The current post-Flash version first popped up in Mr. Terrific number 1. Yes. Now, Conway himself has created Power Girl. As for her developments over the years, he kind of started it and left. Most of the time, it's been done by a bunch of different creators. Paul Levitz himself actually would do a Power Girl miniseries published in the early 80s. Yes, I read it. It's really good. And here's a shocker for you about that miniseries. Not in trade. No, seriously, it's not in trade. Now, you're probably asking, why in the world was this book end at issue 74 after only about 17 issues? There was a reason for it. The DC implosion. Yep, because the late 1970s. Now, from what I can tell, Marvel was doing really good in the 70s. Not much for DC. They were experiencing some financial trouble, so they said axe this book, a bunch of other books. One of the books that was actually slated to be axed, but they canceled the book. Another book, it was actually a lot more, but they kept this other book around because it's a more well-known book. This one. This might be quite shocking for you, but DC was actually considered canceling Detective Comics back in the late 70s, but instead they canceled the popular Batman family and merged that with Detective Comics and made the book like $1 compared to nowadays where it's like $4 or $5 now. Yeah. So Power Girl basically gives a bunch of disasters going on in issue 2, in the first issue of this book, and you have her join the group. Though Soup is actually briefly part of the JSA, though he does in fact resign in favor of his cousin, which they do reveal in here. She actually was kept in secret a lot longer than Supergirl from Earth 1. Yeah, that's the purpose of Power Girl. She simply put the Earth 2 version of Supergirl, despite the fact when Kira Zor-El was first introduced, it was the early 60s. This is the late 70s. Yeah, so for the first couple issues, they pretty much fight Brainwave, and you're probably thinking, like, do they fight any other villains from their classic era? I mean, this is just a revival of the book with the numbering, though it's set in present day in the 70s. And it's very much a serialized book if you read the whole thing. I love it. Now, as for why in the world Conway left, this, I mean, I did not get a chance to ask about this because, like, he's on this book very briefly. He's on this book for a handful of issues, and then he hands the book to Paul Levitz. Yeah, he's credited as the writer and editor of this book until issue, I have to look it up on here, but he, of course, basically is not on the book for very long. No, that's not it. Thank you. No, thank you. Okay, so Conway himself was only on the book until issue number, let's see if I can find it here, until issue 62, which at that point he handed off to Paul Levitz, who pretty much did this book from that point forward. Now, aside from Brainwave, which they fight for the first few issues, do they fight any other classic foes per se? I mean, this definitely does feel like a JSA book. I mean, the late 70s JSA. And here's Superman of Earth 2, which, by the way, Earth 2 Superman never flew. Earth 1 did, but not Earth 2. You see, this version here was the one that first popped up in Action Comics number 1. Here, he's a little bit older because he aged in real time compared to the one from Earth 1, which that's what we kind of have still around this very day, despite 2 relaunches. That one is made forever young, though recently they've actually aged him up because his son is now a teenager. Yes. So with issue 63, this is after Conway left the book and replaced with Paul Levitz. They have a fight with Solomon Grundy, who I should point out, though, is an Alan Scott Green Lantern villain, who for some reason they decided to have him fight Batman for some reason. I have no idea why this is. Yeah, we also have the Fiddler. Yep, a J. Garrett Flash villain pops up here. Which, by the way, they did have this character pop up on the TV show The Flash, except they gender swap him for a woman. Reasons. This book is just so fun. So, with issue number, because here's basically Power Girl's new attire. The boob hole is closed and her belt is missing. Why in the world this is, I have no idea. It's like Wallace Wood didn't want to draw her boob window for reasons. Now, one of the issues, they actually made a double issue, was making like a World War II style story. Well, there's the Untold Origin of the JSA, which is this comic right here, which, great they did this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a double-sided issue. And it's really good. Yes, pure awesomeness at its finest. Basically, it's the story of how the JSA first formed. And from what I can tell, it's never been contradicted. Not really, no. So then apparently, well, Bob Layton, who came with the book for some reason, decided to remember, oh yeah, Power Girl's got a belt, and put her belt back on her. But still kept the boob window closed. Yep. Also have the second pirate here. Huntress does join the group eventually. And then after issue 74, which by the way, that was the, and of course you also have fighting Thorn, who is a Jay Garrick villain. And by the way, it was viewed in All-Star, I think it was All-Star Squad, I think it actually was Infinity Incorporated, that, get this, Alan Scott married her and had Obsidian and Jade. Yep. And if you remember the Sportsmaster who appeared on the Young Justice TV show, he was this cool, badass character. Here's a Sportsmaster. And yeah, his outfit is pretty lame. A ball cap with a white mask makes it look, yeah, it's a pretty lame villain. I mean, here's his smoking hot wife, the Huntress, who they had to rename Tigress. And yes, she got a fight with Helena Wayne over this name. Yep. Now, she did end up marrying Sportsmaster, and they had a daughter together. Yep, they did. Now, excuse me. By the time of the book Adventure Comics, because basically when issue 72, not 72, 74, basically the book got canceled and got moved over to All-Star to Adventure Comics. This was one of the features of the book, which also featured Flash, Wonder Woman, Deadman, Aquaman. And simply put, basically, now I do have a theory about these 6 issues per se, is that originally this was planned, if DC Implosion did not happen, these issues were presumably going to be issues 75 to 80 of All-Star Comics. And in issues 3, and basically, we have where they start out with basically where one of the things that happened in this book is that Bruce Wayne is against the JSA because of a smoking pipe. Yes, and he does terrible things, and he regrets it. And in 462, they do the most strangest thing. They kill off Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman. You're thinking, they killed Batman in Adventure Comics? What the heck is going on here? Well, it was the Batman published at that point. This was the original Batman. And, shoot, no. Thank you. The company uses the trade here. Yes, this is the Earth 2 Batman. This is the one, according to the retcons the DC did, this is the very Batman who popped up in Detective Comics number 27. The one that he used guns in his career at the start of it. Yes, and he gets killed off in this issue. Now, here's the thing. He's killed by some low-level thug. He's not killed by one of his classic villains. Just a low-level thug kills him, and he's an old man at this point. And get this. At this point in time, now, Gordon was no longer commissioner of the GCPD. It was Bruce Wayne. For reasons completely unknown. And then with this issue, he dies. Yes, Batman dies. And you know the weird thing is about this book? Like, does anybody take up the title Batman? Does Dick Grayson do that? Nope. He doesn't. He puts on a variant Robin costume, basically inspired by Bat. Basically, he puts on the Bat costume with aura and gets rid of the cowl place with the domino thing. And he even wears this in Convergence Detective Comics. Yep. Yeah. And It is interesting, though, the fact they killed him off here, and they don't revive him. And here's the thing, he stays dead. Yeah, he stays dead. And then we have basically some mourning stuff going on here. Yeah, for the next few issues, it's simply put just more stories involving the JSA, and it's really good. An absolute classic book that should be read if you're a fan of classic DC comics. Though there is at one point in the comic where, like, basically in the last issue, this has been referenced 3 times. They have this crooked senator who gives them a new base operations, a space station trapped there, and he's like, "Ha ha! I trapped the JSA because I'm crooked," and then he gets arrested, and then the most stupidest thing happens in this comic, which it's the 50s. So what do you expect? Because so apparently they reveal the reason why the JSA disbanded in this issue. The reason why they disbanded, this was explained, and this is of course 4-second text. There was something for the House America. This is actually a fictionalized version of the real life one, where they were actually hunted communism. Well, suspected communists as spies, and they only found 2, and they suspected there was more, but they never found any. Some guy named McCarthy basically was charged with. Now you're curious though, is the Versions the character in the book? No, there's some other guy. And here's what they wanted to do because they suspect basically stuff related to JSA they don't like. So they required them to unmask in front of them and reveal identities to basically them. Hawkman, who was the chairman of the JSA at this point, said, "No thank you," and goodbye. So the whole group teleports out of the room. And, of course, Hawkman at this point had basically... There was at one point in the book he put on back his helmet. Then, of course, basically, we had, him basically wear the this slip-on mask for some reason. And here's the weird thing about Hawkman. About the character. Like, the Carter Hall version, the one who appeared part of the JSA. One thing I did notice, though... He never appeared in the Hawkman comic book, but done by Gardner Fox. The same guy who created the original one did the successful one, who was an alien. They kind of retconned it where that was a previous incarnation, because basically Hawkman is reincarnated many times over the centuries, and he reincarnated that one as a past version of the character. So basically, he didn't meet this version until the 1990s. And it's one of like a few different Ultra versions of characters who never met each other. No, seriously, they never did. The Atom did, but not Hawkman, which I thought that was kind of weird. And the first character who did this was Wonder Woman, though that was unofficial. The first official one was basically the Flashes. Yep. So the Jays disbanded due to bullcrap politics, and then eventually they do in fact reassemble in the 80s. Well, that was a flashback series. Yes. The All-Star Comics book is really good. All-Star Comics Only Legends Live Forever. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Excellent book. Next up it is a book series that's actually going to be canceled soon. Yes, I think they just ended it. This is Teen Titans Academy Volume 1 X Marks the Spot. This collects the first 7 issues of the series. First 5, excuse me. Along with Suicide Squad Volume 7, number 3. And the yearbook special. Excuse me. Now, let's explain some positives and negatives about the Teen Titans Academy. Do I have a problem with this series existing? No, not really. I think it's a really interesting idea. The book is written by Tim Sheridan, which is the same guy who wrote the Shazam miniseries. Now, these first few issues do set up 2 miniseries right away. Now, Crush, who was the daughter of Lobo, is in the book, but by issue 3, she quits the Academy to basically go into her own miniseries. Captain Marvel, on the other hand, kind of does the same thing, where he does something in the book, and then, of course, he gets his own miniseries. Now, Crush being part of the Teenage Academy, not really an issue there. What is an issue is Captain Marvel, aka Billy Batson, being in the book. which makes no frickin' sense because he was a member of the Justice League. Why in the world was he part of the Teen Titans Academy? Because basically Billy Bat's a teenager, so. Now, do I have a problem with the. Now, the teachers of the school are in fact the classic Marvel and George Perez Teen Titans. Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Cyborg. Roy Harper is actually, they call the school the Roy Harper Teen Titans Academy. And the purpose of the school is to train, well, potentially train new Teen Titans, and of course, well, potentially train new superheroes. You probably noticed basically when I showed the cover that you saw Red X, a character introduced in the 2003 Teen Titans TV show, who originally under the mask was Dick Grayson, aka Robin, and then they had another Red X show up later on, except it wasn't Dick Grayson in the mask, it was somebody else, and it was a plot thread that was never revealed who exactly Red X was, and then here, they introduced Red X, and it's a mystery. Who is Red X? Heck, they even have a pointless crossover with the Suicide Squad, trying to figure out who he is. And they don't find out until much later in the series run. On to our issue 10, they finally find out who the heck this guy is. And it is by far one of the most disappointing storylines I have ever seen. We have this big mystery of who this guy is, and it's... I'm not going to reveal who it is until they get the book. I mean, this plot thread is basically a carbon copy of the other storyline. Pretty much. Like, we have this mysterious character, and we're trying to figure out who the heck it is. At least this didn't take as long as the other. The other took almost 20 issues basically to figure out who the heck this guy was. Red X took about 10 issues in to finally figure out who the heck he is. And it's not as disappointing as basically I found out to be the frickin' heretic, which was not properly explained how the heck he was found and who revived him. It's kind of weird. Now we have basically, now is there any new characters introduced in the series? Yes. Yes, there is. Now, there is a statue of Roy Harper here. Mainly because this is during a period of time when he was still dead. Yep. He was still dead, alright. Yeah, though later on he did come back. Yeah, this is part of the Infinite Frontier stuff for the Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, pretty much in a way, these are your students with the very first issue. You have Alina, who first appeared in Infinite Frontier number 0, who just actually released prior to this. Billy Batson, for some stupid reason. Brada Girl, also introduced in Infinite Frontier. She's from the Future State Teen Titans book. Yeah, for some reason they brought this character in for reasons. Chupacabra, who was the white-haired kid. Yeah. He's also... Yeah, it's basically a lot of the characters here were just introduced in Future State. The original character who did not pop up in Future State was Dan. Yeah. There's also Gorilla Greg, who also appeared in Frontier number 0. There is Matt Price. Yeah, it's like everybody who basically associated with Teen Titans Academy first popped up in. They also have Jericho Thunder. Yes, Jericho Thunder. He's part of the book group for reasons that's completely unexplained. Yes. Yes. Though he's only in the first handful of issues. Why the heck is he removed from the book? I don't know. They also have a character who's just a little bit prior to this book, introduced in the Endless Winter Special. This is basically Black Ice. Yes. And there's also a character named Toby. He's also a character for his period of Future State. Yeah, it's like basically Tim Sheridan basically threw in everybody. And the first villain they fight in the very first issue is somebody who the Teen Titans, to my knowledge, have never fought before. By the way, the Teen Titans Academy is stationed out of the Teen Titans Tower from the Dan Abnett run. Excuse me. Yep, it is. Which is kind of interesting. Yep. Yeah. Though it still begs the question, what the heck happened to the base operations for Teen Titans from the book basically done by originally by Ben Purse and Adam Glass? Yes, what happened to Titans Tower? Don't know. It is one of the most strangest things. It's like they introduced this tower and then it just stops appearing. No, seriously, it just stops appearing in the book. For reasons. Like, its last special appearance was in Teen Titans 19. This was the last issue Ben Percy wrote. Then, of course, this popped up again. This tower, prior to popping up in the final issue of Teen Titans Volume 6, was last seen in Titans Volume 3, Issue 19. That was the last this tower was seen. This tower wasn't seen for over two years. And then, basically, Teen Titans brought it back. Yep. So. Yeah. And we have basically just the facilities. And by the way, the students themselves have to wear these blue attires for some reason. I'm making a joke here about Red X. And the first friend they fight is the freaking Clock King. No, seriously. The Clock King is the first guy they fight aside from Red X. Oh, by the way, despite the fact the students could easily help, basically find out who the heck Red X is, Donator's like, no, we'll handle it. And then by issue 3, it's like, every hunky-dory until the frickin' Suicide Squad show up. Which, by the way, this is the Robbie Thompson version, which has Match, Peacemaker, and frickin' Talon. Yes, seriously. Yeah, despite the fact, appearance-wise, that looks like Connor Kemp-free Flashpoint. But no, that's Match. The Talon appearance in this book is William Cobb, Dick Grayson's grandfather. Oh, great-grandfather, excuse me. And here's the weird thing about this book. He does not encounter his great-grandson. And he makes a brief guest appearance. For reasons that are never explained. Yes. So, basically they're here to find who Red X is, and they don't. Nope, they don't. It's a completely pointless crossover that reveals nothing. It's just you have Teen Titans Academy attacking and, well, Suicide Squad attacking, of course, find out who Red X is. And he's just trying to figure out who he is, and then they're told, Don Detroit, nope, don't do it. And like, yeah. And here's something with Shazam. Yeah, that's exploring the pages of the Shazam comic here. Yeah, it's interesting, though, that they set up two miniseries in the very same issue, and then, of course, Eric reveals the group of people were trying to find who he is. They reveal who he reveals the identity to, but they don't reveal who exactly it is under the mask. Like, here's a close-up. Here's basically what Red X looked like in the book, which, design-wise, they pretty much use the same exact design from the Teen Titans TV show, except they removed the metal on the boots. Because for some strange reason, Robin had those style boots, and so did Deathstroke and Red X. Here they removed them, but it's the same exact outfit. And apparently by issue 5, apparently at the end of the first term, summer break, and then we have the yearbook special, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah. Now you're probably thinking, okay, is there, in my opinion, any major problems with the book? Not really, no. Not per se. It's just that the book itself is just somewhat not that good. It's got gorgeous artwork. But man, it feels so lacking in interesting storytelling when it comes to certain characters. Yeah, the new students are pretty much written to be complete ignored by the actual established characters. And yeah. But that's gonna be. By the way, I'm gonna give this book I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah. Actually, I'm making 8.5 because I like the artwork. Yep. So yeah, that's the episode review, and that's gonna be pretty much it for this thing because it's almost midnight, so I better basically stop it here. I'll probably resume my next comic corner tomorrow, along with at least couple more videos to do for Read Over Healer. Okay, thanks for the video. Bye.